All right. So I've got a bit of a focal point with the eye there. I'm starting to get the tusk here. I do like the horn, and that kind of looks like something coming out of a head. The ridge of the back, the coral spikes. The feet are starting to be suggested here. But I want to look at where the weaknesses are in the overall composition. And it's anywhere where hard edges are peeking through too strongly. And that's often going to be on our cookie cutter layer. So if I actually get rid of my cookie cutter layer, most of my content's there. So I can feel fairly confident erasing away from it, especially at low opacities. Where those hard edges are a problem. Because I'm just revealing my background sky when I do that. But then I also have to pay attention to where erasing them would be a problem. So in here, I think I need to clone stamp a little bit more. I do like the way these kind of feet are working. For the bottom edge, that's looking more believable. Let's transition some of this cloud a little bit better. And just like your character design, it's cool to have lots of different composited features, but you don't want it to get overwhelmed with lots and lots of focal points. So sometimes you have to simplify by erasing or by evening out contrasts, just so it doesn't draw attention away. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my clone stamp layer, and let's see if we can build some of these assets in. If you're going to have focal points, it's good to have them around the head. And because I'm on my own layer with clone stamp here, I don't need to worry about being too subtle. I do try to avoid clone stamping the actual sky. I just want cloud texture. And I have to move my target around, hold Option to get my target. Doing it at about 50%. All right. Okay, so yes, now my cookie cutout layer doesn't seem to have so many vital areas, so I can start erasing away from it more aggressively anywhere soft edges are showing, or hard edges are showing through, rather. It's not that I can't use my cookie cutter layer. It's just that I don't want to be too reliant on it. Yeah, that's working. You might even work with adjustments on individual layers. That one got a little too dark. Play with its midtones and highlights a little bit. Kind of working in balance with everything else. Now work on these clone stamped areas. A lot more subtlety, maybe a little bit of smudging. Yeah. Problem is it looks like an elephant, but I'll take it. Or maybe I'll separate that tusk out a little bit more. Doesn't feel so much like a nose. All right, for the critique of this project, we're doing it a little differently. Instead of you just presenting your own work, you're not going to be allowed to talk about your own work. Instead, and I'm not going to be allowed to talk about it. So instead, you're going to be peer critiquing, which means you're going to look at the work of your classmates and you're going to offer your observations and opinions about what's working well and what can be worked, what areas or what approaches to it could be handled better. And we'll start by critiquing mine. Because the very best work doesn't usually happen on a deadline. But I believe strongly that the bulk of the important work happens on the deadline. Otherwise, we just put things off. So these critiques are really helpful in being able to turn our projects into portfolio quality work. And sometimes we just need to know where to focus to kind of recognize the issues. If you work at a design firm or a special effects house, a lot of different aspects of digital art start their day, professional day, with peer critiques of the work from the day before, whether it's your animation frames, your special effects shots, your character designs. I'm trying to introduce you to some of those skills. Let's see, I need a mustache. Now he looks a little bit like a flop-eared bunny with a tusk, but that's the great thing about clouds. It can be suggestive of so many things. The last thing, kind of looking and seeing if there's any weird shapes. I'm looking at the negative space of all the blue behind and how it cuts in, and that seems a little strong. So I might use the smudge tool on that layer. I think it's the clone stamp layer. Pull away at it a little bit, or maybe use clone stamp to kind of paint a shape across it that I can then erase from. It kind of breaks up that shape a little bit. And as you work with it, you want to move from doing kind of crisis control in what you're working on and fixing to the point where it's just more enjoyable. Okay, this is looking pretty good. I'm just looking for anything that kind of sticks out as not as finished as the rest. So this is a very quick project. It highlights the skills we've been trying to master. Let's see this layer. So I've got a lot of gray here in the face. I might actually try adding some saturation to that. So you can turn the sponge tool around to actually saturate as well as desaturate. So if I want to add some more of that kind of blue in there, I can do that, but it might get grainy. So I've got the color, but it got kind of grainy. And so then I can use the blur tool. I want it at a pretty high strength because the blur tool is maddeningly slow. And that will kind of merge these pixels together. And it's doing something. It's just, look at all those blur tools. It just takes forever. I have no idea why it's such a slow tool. Or if I get really fed up with that, I can just select that area from that layer and actually go to filter and use the Gaussian blur filter. And that's much more effective. But the blur tool is targeted. Bless you. Yes, but I think that little bit of color helps. Let's see. That's what it was like before. This is what it's like now. There's little changes. I might do that same thing here, add a little bit of saturation. I can do that with the sponge tool. I can also try to do it with the layer adjustment. Let's go to hue saturation, up the saturation just a little bit. And then maybe hit the whole thing with a little bit of blur. Very subtle. Don't want to wipe it out. Let's see what that looks like. That's a little too saturated. Maybe not. Okay, so now you can use the sponge tool to desaturate selectively just on the edge. And I think I want to either clone stamp or erase away a bit from this. The texture looks a little off. And then strengthen a little bit with the clone stamp on the clone stamp layer. And then I think I'll be done. Notice I never shifted to a smaller eraser because I don't ever want it to look like I'm drawing. I'm always building up soft shapes. And so I keep my tools pretty big and broad. All right, now what if I wanted to just play with it overall? I can go on top of my clone stamp layer, I can turn off my sky, and I can hold down Option and say Layer Merge Visible. That puts it all onto one layer. Turn my sky back on, and then with that layer, I can try Auto Tone, which didn't seem to do too much. I can adjust the color balance altogether. I can do this with adjustment layers too. Now it's about making that cloud kind of work with its background a little bit more.